Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen right now, today's installment, we're going to be taking a closer look at the new G.I. Joe Classified Series Retro card-backed Cobra Commander. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know if you're thinking about buying a Retro Coco for yourself. I'm going to walk you through the figure, the aesthetic experience, the visual experience that I've had since I've picked him up, talk you through the articulation and the posability and how much fun that is or isn't. Let's wait and see. Give you a walkthrough of all the accessories and added value, and hopefully with all that said and done, you should have enough information to make a decision if this is the right figure for you to splash your cash on. So let's get into it, and I'm going to start by going back in time and visiting past Chris, where I'll talk about the packaging on the day I opened up the box when the figure arrived on my doorstep. So here we go, let's jump back into the past. Okay, folks, well, here is the Retro card-backed Cobra Commander then. Once again, massive shout-out to the sterling work that the UK-based independent retailers who import their G.I. Joes. I'm very pleased to have this one in hand. A little bit ahead of the curve as well, which is exciting also. So a quick look at the packaging. You can see it's the standard Retro card blister pack jobby. We've got the blister on the front here showing off the figure, all the extras and goodies. Got the kind of redesign of in the style of the old Hector Garrido artwork on the side there, that kind of iconic G.I. Joe old school kind of packaging style there. G.I. Joe, Cobra Enemy, Cobra Commander, all the usual bollocks and malarkey there. Then on the back, we've got a retro-style file card with all the information in various different languages. Little pickies there of all the other figures in this particular wave. So you've got the Retro Coco, the Stalker, and the Cobra Trooper there. All the legal bollocks across the bottom. And that's it. Pretty standard stuff, really. Not a great deal else to shout about. Obviously, everybody within their right mind are huge fans of that Hector Garrido style artwork, although that's clearly not Hector Garrido's original artwork. But there we go. That's it. That's all the show and tell as far as the kind of packaging shelf presence goes. So I'm going to go away, crack this bad boy open, get a bit of man-child playtime in, and I'll return in a couple of days with some good, solid review thoughts to share. So stick around. Future Chris is going to be back with you in 3, 2, 1. Okay then, folks, well, here we go. Here is Cobra Commander as he came out the package. It's time now to get into the review section of the video. I'm going to start by talking about the aesthetic qualities of the figure, talk about the visual experience that I've had. And I'm going to start with a full head-to-toe look of the figure, because this is clearly, as the retro Cobra Commander, the retro card-back Cobra Commander, this is clearly leaning super heavily into the old Sunbow animated series look of the figure, with lots of the finer details in there to replicate the way he looked in the cartoon. So you've got the big white stripe on the top of his helmet, the white belt, the belt buckle is the same, the two straps across his legs, although I don't think he had the knife in the cartoon, but he definitely had straps, I seem to remember. The red stripes down the side of the leg, the position of the trimmings and the Cobra badge and all that. So very, very heavily leaning into the nostalgic look of the animated series version of the character. He's also obviously the same book, the same core figure as the Hiss Tank version of Cobra Commander, with a few subtle differences. The Hiss Tank version didn't have the white stripe. The Hiss Tank version didn't have the VAT metal faceplate. The little bit of polo neck thing sticking out the top there. Not polo neck, sorry. Anyway, you know what I mean. There's extra bit under his jacket. His shirt under his jacket was black, I think, and all the trimmings were black, so no white belt and such like, and of course the Mickey Mouse Cobra symbol. So lots of subtle differences. Also didn't have the big black gloves on the Hiss Tank one as well. To my recollection, and a quick peek at a picture that a friend of mine took on Instagram. So, yeah, very heavily nostalgia influenced, which is, of course, you'd expect from the retro version of the figure. And while it's still the same as the Hiss Tank version, at its core, there's lots of trimmings and differences to set him apart a little bit from the figure that the Hiss Tank backers got. Although, had I been a Hiss Tank backer, I might be a little bit disappointed that this one's come out down the line. As a non-Hiss Tank backer, though, I'm very happy. The VAC metal faceplate was a big kind of selling point, a unique selling point that they made a fuss of when they revealed this for the very first time. And I gotta say, folks, it does look really incredible. It's very, very eye-catching, gives the figure a great deal of shelf presence. I was playing around with him yesterday. I was doing a bit of recording a bit of footage to use on one of my 1-minute showcases that I do. And as he was rotating around on the little turntable, the lights were kind of reflecting off it and stuff. It looks brilliant. And when I was holding him up and playing around with some poses, I could see my own face in it. It's really, really good. Really sets the figure apart. Obviously, there's not a lot to talk about in terms of face sculpts and stuff, but the way they've set the face mask contours in there looks really nice, really interesting. The contours of the helmet is nice as well. It's got a good flow, and as I mentioned before, is obviously hugely recognizable and reminiscent of the original cartoon Cobra Commander look. Moving down into the main body, we've got lots of that kind of usual G.I. Joe Classified series, kind of finer detail stuff that gives it depth, gives it texture. So you can see all these kind of creases and folds. Look at the little bits of detail, like in the lapel there, the little folds, creases in the top of the sleeves and around the side of the jacket there. All these individual studs and his little, what are these bits called? These little insignias on the collar. I know what they're called. It's in the depths of my mind. I can't think. I know one of you guys will jump out into the comments and help me out with that. But all these little badges and insignias and stuff, all individually paint apps, all individual paint apps on these. Look, again, to give it depth, give it texture. Nice paint application for the Cobra symbol on the front, and then things like this little clasp here on the white belt across the middle, very neatly painted, and the detail on the belt buckle too. Always a big fan when the belt buckle's got a bit of detail on it. Speaking of the belt as well, nice leathery texture to that. And while we're talking about leathery textures, nice leathery texture there in the tall gloves too, which is really, really lovely. And again, adds to the depth and the experience of the character. You can really see the leathery effect there on the belt. If I turn him around to the back, but you can also see these straps here, kind of coordinated with the backpack peg hole, so that when you got his little backpack on, which we'll have a look at a bit later, so it's all nice, but even the bits that you don't see under the backpack are sculpted in. Got the red stripe there going all the way down the side of the leg. You can see again these little finer details. There's like a little bit of a stitching pattern in there. I've got a little bit of paint spillage, a bit of the blue is spilling over onto the red. It's negligible, you don't notice it. It's yet another example of one of those where I've really closely examined the figure for the purposes of a YouTube review, but on the shelf you really don't notice it. But the continuity goes all the way down to this section that folds under his boot there too, which is really lovely to see. No lazy shortcutting. Can you see this, Todd? Todd McFarlane? No lazy shortcutting there. Colour scheme's good. The blue is a solid blue that looks just like your mind's eye recollection of the Cobra Commander uniform from the Sunbow cartoons. The extra little trimmings like the lighter sky blue here underneath, and the white bits there, and of course all the black boots, the black gloves, the black belt give it a nice bit of symmetry. This of course isn't really so much down to the classified design team as it is down to their replication of the classic look of the figure, but still makes him look very eye-catching, great shelf presence. Although one thing I will say, and you can really see it here under my lights on the figure, there is a bit of a plasticky quality to him that makes him a bit shiny. And not shiny in the sense of the VAC metal faceplate, but can you see here across the body, a bit of shininess? I've had to turn the lights away. If I turn them back into their usual position, look at that, can you see that really shiny reflection there? So just something to bear in mind. He doesn't look very matte. He's got a bit of shininess about him, which is fine. I don't mind. But next to some characters, they're a little bit more kind of textural and a more matte kind of look to the figure. He does stand out as being a little bit plasticky in nature. Well, I'll put him next to a few figures later on that I've been posing him with to show you what I mean. So as far as the visual experience goes, definitely a thumbs up from me. MoDXtra recommends if you're looking for that classic look Cobra Commander with a nice bit of shelf presence, but with some good quality G.I. Joe Classified kind of modern contemporary upgrades with paint applications and sculpting quality and such like. Great realization of the character in the 6-inch classified form. Well, I keep saying classified. It's technically not, is it? But you know what I mean. We all know it's G.I. Joe Classified, the retro card pack stuff. So I've enjoyed him visually a great deal. A lot of fun to pose around and play around with alongside you know, your classic kind of Cobra leadership lineup. I've had him out with Mindbender and stuff Storm Shadow and Zartan and the twins and such like. Really wonderful. Had him next to Serpentor as well. So yeah, nothing to complain about other than the slightly shininess of the plastic nature of the figure, but overall I've enjoyed him greatly. As I usually say with the retro cardback ones, your mileage will vary as to how much of a good, solid, classic look Cobra Commander figure you are after. You know what I mean? If, like me, you want to do some reenactments of your favourite scenes from cartoons and comic books, then this is a great figure, obviously. But if you're more engaged by the kind of modern reinterpretation angle on Classified, then your mileage may vary with this one. But I have enjoyed it visually very much. Big thumbs up. Great aesthetic qualities to this figure. All right, well, there you go. There's a look at the aesthetics. Let's now take a look at the articulation. All right then, folks, well, it's standard G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation scheme, so if you neither need nor want to hear about the articulation of the figure, I put chapters in down below. You can just skip ahead straight to the accessories and added value section of the review. But if you are interested in seeing it, perhaps this is your first G.I. Joe Classified Series review you've ever watched, or you're interested to know whether there's any particular quirks for this figure, then I'll give you a quick rundown, and I'm going to start with the head. So we've got a ball at the top of the head, ball at the base of the neck, which gives you a decent down, a fairly decent up, although the back edge of this helmet is really what your problem is there when you're trying to do up, but it's fairly decent there, look. Full 360 X assist, and lots of kind of tilt and swivel and stuff there. So good range of motion, and even the shape of the helmet across the bottom there doesn't get in the way too much. Then moving down into the main body, you've got the butterfly joint there, giving you some shuffle forward and back. Pin and hinge on the shoulder point there, giving you the full 360 and the bend out to the T. Swivel there at the top of the bicep and tricep. Nice pinless elbow that will get you up to there. Then the standard pegged in hands, which give you the full swivel around the wrist. And then the hands that come on him out of packet have got up and down hinges there, so you can hinge up and down like so. Moving down into the torso, you've got the ab crunch and the ball joint waist there, giving you good forward, good back, and then lots of swivel and movement in the waist area there. Moving down into the groin area, got the hips here, the standard drop down ball joints on the hips, giving you good forward. Russian ballet all the way out to there. Cobra Commander's a dancer. And of course the usual struggle going backwards because the arse cheeks obscure your backwards journey. Swivel at the top of the thigh. Pinless double knee, that'll get you up to there. Then you got a boot cut here, hidden away in the a few of the creases and folds at the bit where it bunches up at the bottom of the trouser leg, giving you some swivel at that point. And then the standard hinge and rocker in the feet and ankles. The regulars around these parts will know, big fan of the G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation scheme. Big thumbs up from me. I feel like the range of possibilities in terms of posing them up for some photos that I wanted to take and some dioramas that I wanted to do were, you know, rock solid. It gives you a wide range of possibility. The only thing I will say with regards to this specific figure that I received, that could just be me or my batch. It could differ from person to person. Very crunchy down in the legs. Had to do a bit of the old hairdryer job to loosen up the joints in the, well, all of it actually. The hips, the thigh cut, and the knees were all very, very crunchy and needed a bit of heat applying to loosen them up. A lot better now, but still a bit crunchy. You can still sort of hear it. I don't know if the mic's picking that up, but you can still kind of hear it there when moving him around. But otherwise, very good. The only other thing I'll say is that even though he's got this wide range of kind of posing opportunity with him, I did find myself getting a bit vanilla all the time in just kind of big dictatorial, bossy people around poses all the time. But I suspect I was less about the articulation and more about my lack of imagination. So there we go. Thumbs up on the articulation. Let's now take a look at the accessories they've thrown in with him, shall we? And see whether there's good added value. And to start us off, folks, we've got hand swaps for days with Retro Coco here. He came with 2 trigger hands. Weapon gripping hands out the packet, but we've got the classic Cobra Commander pointy finger for the right hand there. This has a forward and back hinge. The evil villain claw, also a forward and back hinge. And a set of closed fist hands, again with forward and back hinges for both the right and the left hand, which I like to think are less about hand-to-hand combat for Cobra Commander and more about frustrated desk slamming action or kind of fist throwing in the air in, I'll get you kind of stuff. That was a dreadful Cobra Commander impression. Then, as far as weaponry goes, we've got this like classic look sort of laser pew pew going on here. Single piece of molded plastic for Cobra Commander there. Little splash of colour with the paint application for the red dial on the top there. It's got that proper classic Sunbow cartoon sort of sci-fi laser pistol look about it, which is nice. Lots of sculpted details in there. It's fine. It's fine. You know, serves a purpose. And then Coco also has a little dagger here. Nice to see. Paint application, metallic, shiny blade, which is always nice to see. Some sculpted details, and then this little bit of paint application on the end. I'm pretty sure we've seen that dagger before. Is that the same one that the twins have got? But yeah, that's handy if he wants to get stabby. And this has got a little sheath on his thigh there that you can pop it into, like so. We then have this little kind of backpack holster piece of kit here for Cobra Commander. This clearly draws very heavy inspiration from the vintage figure with the kind of weapon storage thing on his back there. So we've got this little gun holster slot and then some trimmings, some silver discs. Always glad to see some paint applications applied to a backpack and a Cobra symbol there on the side. So it's just nice and small, nice and compact, but a little bit of on-figure weapon storage for the pistol. Standard peg plug-in, and then the pistol, I believe, fits in like so. And then finally, we have the standard Cobra foot stand that comes with the retro card back figures. Mine's already got a bit dusty because I had him out on the shelf while I was doing some dusting the other day. Yeah, this is standard. 2 pegs in there. These are nice. I like these. They're fine. My only problem with the foot stands, as I've mentioned before, is that I tend to not use them because I like that little bit of uniformity on my displays, and I don't like having some characters, the retro cardback ones, on foot stands and some not. But the collection is growing to the point where I can now chop and change when I'm not using other retros and so on and so forth. But it's fine. It's useful if you want to go for a much more kind of classic, pegged in foot stand display with him. So the accessory selection's all right. It's decent. I'll give it a thumbs up. I mean, you're generally quite limited with these sort of dictatorial leader types in terms of selection. The claw hand, I would have preferred to have looked a little bit more kind of evil villain clawy. It looks a little bit more like he's just kind of, I don't know. It's just not evil villain clawy enough for my taste. But that's fine. Obviously, the main point of controversy, I suppose, within the community is the fact that we've not had a head swap with the hooded version of the character. That bothers me less. I'm more of a fan of the helmeted, face-plated version of the character anyway, but I know there's a lot of hooded Cobra Commander nostalgia heads out there who might have preferred that getting thrown in. Otherwise, I don't know what else might have had some the binoculars perhaps that can come with Duke, but with a Cobra symbol on the front of them perhaps, or some sort of device, from one of the many episodes where he's got a remote control to activate a device here or there, perhaps a little something else. Without the cape, I probably wouldn't have wanted something like the Snake Scepter or whatever. And of course, the Hiss Tank one came with the Cobra wrapped around the world, didn't it? So it's all right. It's decent. I'm giving it a thumbs up, but it's okay. It's not opened up the world, as much of a world of possibility in terms of how you might display him, I suppose, is the main thing there. So there you go. Okay, so there's the accessories. Let's now take a look at Cobra Commander next to some other figures, shall we? Okay, folks, well, first up here, I've got him with Dr. Mindbender. I think these two on the shelf have got some real top-quality kind of classic Sunbow cartoon vibes about them and look really great together. Here he is next to the classified Cobra Commander there. You can really kind of see the difference in the sort of the retro-inspired design next to the kind of modern reinterpretation design here. A lot of stuff going on there. I love both of these equally. It's rare for me to get a repeat character, but this is definitely an instance where I feel like a repeat character is a good fit. Although this one here, I'm going to try his hand out because he's definitely got more of an evil villain claw going on with the way his hand is held. Talking of classic Sunbow cartoon kind of vibes, here's the Retro Coco with the V2 Firefly and with a very bright storm shadow under my lights. And to finish us off, here is the Retro Cobra Commander next to the Serpentor figure without chariot, because I can't fit him on the screen on top of his chariot. But look at the size difference there. That's brilliant, isn't it? The scale in there. Okay then, folks, well, here is Cobra Commander going around on the turntable for you to take a full 360 view of the figure. And while you're eyeballing that, I'll give you my final thoughts. This pose here, I threw together just kind of loosely inspired by the, what's the guy's name? Jason Howard, the Jason Howard cover of the second printing of Cobra Commander #1 that I have got. But yeah, it's a great figure. I've been enjoying it a great deal since it came. I've had it for 4 or 5 days now and been posing him up, playing around. He's made for a great little desk figure. Like I mentioned before, I found posing him a little bit of a challenge, but I think that's more of a lack of imagination on my part. I just keep having him in these kind of evil ruler kind of poses over and over again, which don't seem very dynamic or engaging, but they work. You know, when you line up a Mindbender and a Firefly either side of him, or a couple of Vipers or whatever, it works. You know, it works. As I mentioned before, mileage will vary as to how much nostalgia you want. You know, you may feel more preferentially towards the other Cobra Commander, the new reinterpretation version from earlier on, and I wouldn't blame you for that either. It depends what you're in G.I. Joe Classified for, but this one really works well if you're trying to put together little kind of classic feel cartoon poses and little classic feel cartoon displays with a couple of your other figures that you got knocking around that have got nice retro vibes about them. So all told, it's a happy purchase for me. I just wish maybe there was a little bit more variety in the accessories. So there we go. All right, folks, well, that brings me to the end. Hopefully, if you've been thinking about picking one up for yourself, I've helped you make a decision today. If you have, then please do make sure you hit the like button. Head on down to the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on Retro Cobra Commander, and subscribe to the channel if you're not done already. Okay, folks, all that remains for me to say is thanks very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, rest of the week, rest of the month, whatever, and I'll see you around these parts again sometime soon for another... Oh, damn it. Oh, that's finished the video with the bat facing the camera again. I am so dreadful at this. See you later, folks.